Hey folks, Tim Newman with Soft Light Studios bringing you another installment in our series, Composition, Seeing and Being Seen. Today, we're going to continue with the third installment in our little mini-series within our composition series entitled, How Is It Seen? And we're going to take a look at a picture that I recently shot while I was out at a workshop in Glacier National Park and in Montana. Hopefully this will help you to get an idea of what I was thinking when I saw this scene and put it together. Let's take a look. So the picture that we're going to take a look at today in our How Was It Seen series is a shot that I have titled Reach, and it's on a horse ranch in Montana. And I really don't specifically know where this horse ranch is, other than I know that it's south of Glacier National Park as we're heading out of Montana, kind of down to the entrance to Yellowstone. And as we drive through there periodically on our workshops, there are a lot of cattle and horse ranches out there. And, you know, if the weather is just right and the light is right, we'll stop and grab pictures of these horses. And this shot is just one of those stops. So here's our picture titled Reach. And we pulled off to the side of the road, and there were a bunch of horses running around out in the field. And as horses typically do, they are very curious animals, and they immediately headed over to the fence to check us out. I think primarily because they want peppermints and they're hoping we have some. And unfortunately for this guy, we didn't. And as I got out of the car and I saw them headed this way, one of the things that I noticed kind of looking around me was the light was not super great that morning. It was very diffused, and it gives us that kind of nice, even illumination of the horse and of the grass that you see here in the foreground. But as you can see looking at the background, and believe it or not, this is the background that was there that day. It was fairly overcast and gray. And what occurred to me really quickly is there was a hill that this horse was standing on, and that if I got the right angle basically down the hill and shot up the hill, that I could take that background and turn it into just one really flat, diffused color behind the horse. So this is, in fact, a single shot. It's not even an HDR sequence. This is just a single shot. And what I've done is I've placed myself a fair distance down the hill with a 400 millimeter 2.8 lens that I shot at 5.6. And because of that angle, I'm really looking up to the crest of this hill and to the sky in the background and using it as my background in this scene. Now, by using that long focal length of lens, I get two things out of it. One is very narrow depth of field, which you can quickly see here looking at the barbed wire running into the fence post. It is out of focus, and then the fence post and the horse's head are in focus, and then pretty quickly behind that, we're back out of focus again. So I've got a real minimal depth of field there because of that wide open aperture with that lens. And the scenery is compressed together. That fence post and the next fence post behind it are a little ways off distance-wise, but they don't feel that way in the picture because of the compression that telephoto lens gives you when you're shooting this kind of frame. The other thing that we get in this picture that I think really works well is a really middle field focus in terms of depth of field. We're not focusing into the foreground. We're focusing into the center of the frame in terms of distance, getting that fence post and the horse's head in focus. And we're leaving the foreground and the background out of focus on purpose, because I think you'll agree it takes your attention immediately to the horse and that fence post. A couple of other things here I'll point out real quickly. Certainly looking at it vertically, we've got a real nice nod to rule of thirds here with the fence post on 1/3 and the horse's head and the eye on the other third. And I think even horizontally, you could say that we have grass, the horse's head, and the horse's neck, making our thirds working our way up horizontally through the frame. The other thing that I think works here really well is, for all intents and purposes, this is a monochromatic frame. We've basically got shades of brown, and then we've got some blacks, whites, and grays in there, but we don't really count black, whites, and grays as colors. So we think of the rest of this as a monochrome color set. Got a couple more notes for you, and then we'll wrap up. Our shutter speed here that we shot this at was 1/640th of a second. Our aperture was f/5.6. Our ISO was ISO 400, and believe it or not, the meter read the scene correctly. We did no exposure compensation here, and if you divide up the tonality in the frame, it's pretty clear to see that there's a good 50-50 mix of bright versus dark. And so the histogram generally was pretty well balanced, and the camera metered that pretty well. If you hear that scratching in the background, it's the dogs wanting out on the back porch. Let me let them out. I'll be right back with this last slide. All right, the dogs are outside and they're happy, so let's continue on with our discussion here. This was shot on a Canon 5D Mark IV camera body and a Canon 400mm f2.8 IL USM lens on the front of this. Now, I realize that's not the kind of lens that everybody has in their lens arsenal. It's a pricey piece of glass, and I get that. But remember, we shot this at f5.6, so there are certainly alternatives out there that will get you into that f4, f5.6 range, and you could come up with the same exact shot with that lens as you see here by doing that. Also, there are places that rent longer lenses like this. So if you're going on a special trip and you get a hold of one of these rental places, you could take one for a weekend or a week. Not necessarily inexpensive, but certainly gives you an opportunity to try it and see how you get along with a lens like that. I think you'll find it really a lot of fun to do that. My camera has a Really Right Stuff L bracket on it, as it always does. Every camera body I have those L brackets on it. I love what that does for me in terms of flipping from landscape to portrait quickly, and it just feels right in my hand. And then last but not least, Really Right Stuff monopod. That's a lot of lens to be jockeying around out there, so a little extra stabilization in the form of a monopod doesn't hurt. And what I really like is Really Right Stuff's system. Those L brackets work on everything, the monopods, the tripods, the ground pods, you name it. So I'm really enamored with that system, and it works well for me. All right, see you on the other side. We'll have a couple of thoughts, and then we'll have you out of here. Thanks a lot. Well, there you have it, folks. Reach, our friendly little horse out there in Montana, stretching his neck over the fence to get some prairie grass. I hope that you found this video useful and that the information here gives you some insight into how I approach looking at the shot and capture the frame that I shared with you today. Don't forget to subscribe using that subscribe button down below the video here to stay up to date with the new videos that we're bringing to you on a regular basis here at Softlight Studios. Hope you find them useful. If you have any comments, suggestions, things you'd like to see us do, let us know that below. We're always interested in hearing that. So get out there and find some hungry horses near you. And remember, while you're out there shooting those horses, learning equals skills, practice equals mastery. We'll see you out there.